Because we do have families joining us from around the nation, we're going to give you all plenty of time to ask us questions. A few of our other admissions specialists are going to be joining us on this call for the last half hour or so, just to answer any specific questions you may have about your campus. So that's just a brief overview of all the content that we're going to cover today. I did just want to pause. Were there any questions? Did anybody have any last minute additions they want to make to the agenda? Cool. All right, I'll go ahead and get started.
I had a question.
Oh
Sorry.
yeah, go ahead.
So the one location that we're interested in is the one in Burke, but
Yes.
we got an email that it's not actually going to be started until January. So is that like the time we can do a tour, just because we want to see like?
Yeah, that's a great question. So for some of our campuses that aren't open yet, if you are interested in going for an actual tour or virtual tour of the campus, you won't be able to do so until the campus is actually open. But again, the benefit of having this nationwide network of schools is if you wanted to see a campus tour of one of our sister schools, so we actually have quite a hub of schools in the Northern Virginia area. So if you wanted to see a tour of our West Alex campus, which is already set up, you can actually connect with the campus leadership team there to participate in a virtual tour of their campus. And again, as I mentioned before, because our campuses are all set up by the same teams, we actually are able to see what you see in our West Alex campus is essentially going to be the same exact setup that you'll see in our Burke campus. So I hope that answers your question. And again, if you do have any, if your campus is already open and you want to check out the tour or connect with our campus leadership teams for that specific campus, our regional admissions specialists will go ahead and connect you with them at the end of this tour. Great. Also, fun fact, I grew up in the Northern Virginia area, and the Guidepost Montessori at Burke campus was the preschool that I went to as a child. So just wanted to share that. Even though I'm based in Chicago, I actually grew up in Burke.
Hey, Denise, I have a quick question, sorry, before you go on. I just wanted to confirm that, so Guidepost Montessori is kind of like a school network, and do you operate your locations as franchises? Is that kind of how it's set up?
Yeah, essentially, so we are, I think the main difference between like a franchise model and our model is we actually are all part of one network of schools. And so even though we have individual campuses, it's not like we're giving like a lot of basically, there's a ton of consistency in terms of our hiring and our training and even the ways that we set up our environment. So even though our campuses are located all around the world, we are actually run centrally by one team, actually based in California. So you can be assured that whatever campus you go to in, I'm not sure where you're from, but if you're in Florida, then the campus is going to be really pretty much exactly the same. Your campus leaders are going to have the same training, going to have the same hiring practices and the same setup as our campus located in California.
Great, thanks. That's helpful.
Yeah, of course. And actually, just for context, myself and Kai, who's actually on this phone call as well, all of our regional admissions specialists, we're all part of the central team. So that's why we're able to answer questions, not just about one specific campus, but actually across campuses all over the nation. So we are your one-stop shop for any questions that you have about our programs, not only for brick and mortar schools, but also for our other programs, which actually I'll go ahead and talk a little bit more about momentarily. So, I can actually just dive in right now and share a little bit more about our program offerings. And so just for context, our goal at Guidepost Montessori is to make high quality Montessori education available to as many children as we can. And Guidepost Montessori, it's not just a network of schools, it's actually a community of parents and educators and a growing encyclopedia of Montessori resources. So we also, in addition to our in-person schools, offer virtual schools. We offer at-home, basically in-home small group learning. And then we also offer self-serve Montessori programming. So if you are interested in homeschooling your child and having access to resources and lessons to teach your child in the Montessori way, we actually have all of those materials available for you. But essentially the common denominator with all of these programs and offerings and the singular mission for us is to support each child as they grow into their independence. And our goal is to create this next generation of creative, innovative problem solvers and critical thinkers. And all of our programs are aligned to serve that need. So we offer programming beginning from infancy, going all the way through adolescence, through our partner brand Academy of Thought and Industry, and they offer middle school and high school programming. And so if your child begins their journey at Guidepost Montessori at the age of 6 weeks old, our goal is to be with your child every single step of the way, all the way up through high school. All right. So I wanted to start off just by sharing a photo of a fairly standard traditional daycare. So some of you may remember these spaces from your own childhood, or perhaps you've seen them as you've looked at different options for your child. But I wanted to just have everyone to take a moment and just absorb the setting and experience it through the eyes of your child, and just think through some of the first thoughts and emotions you or your child might experience when entering this environment. And then I wanted to go ahead and share a photo of one of our Montessori infant classrooms at one of our campuses. And again, just give you all a moment to just absorb it, experience this setting through the eyes of your child. All right. So I'd love to just take a moment and just ask a few of you to share. You can do this through the chat, or you can just raise your hand to share some of the differences you noticed between the first photo and the second photo. And how do you think your child might experience this environment? Oh, Sarah, go ahead.
With the first one, it was very colorful and a little overpowering, whereas the second one was it seemed very structured and not as, a little more calming, I would say.
Excellent. Yeah, and I think Kasena also agrees. The first photo seemed a little bit overwhelming, and the second one seemed calm. Medha also mentions that everything's at a lower level. That's a great observation, really accessible for the child. Great. Those are some wonderful observations, even though I only gave you like 10 seconds to look at the photo. But let me go ahead and these are all wonderful observations and exactly what makes the Montessori method so unique and powerful. So beginning in infancy, we really focus on developing independence. And so these are just a few of the key principles that you all notice just by looking at that photo for like 10 seconds. But beginning in infancy, we focus on developing independence. Maria Montessori said, we never want to help the child with a task at which he feels he can succeed. So the reason everything's at the lower level, really accessible for the child, is because we want to provide the child with an opportunity to explore their environment and really feel agency over their own learning. So we provide the child with just the right amount of modeling and support, and then we take a step back and we observe the child as they perform everything at their own pace in a really secure, comforting environment. The next key principle is our mixed age environments. And so it's incredibly beneficial for children to work together in mixed age settings. So younger children are inspired by what the older children do, and the older children have an opportunity to step into this leadership role. I've already been amazed at how quickly my daughter is learning how to move her body and to verbalize and to serve herself, all from the guidance of her peers. When she came home after her first month at school, she was already learning how to like grasp a little, the little spoons, which I didn't even realize she was able to understand that that's how you feed yourself. And so it's really incredible to see how quickly the younger children are able to pick up some of those skills from their older peers just by watching them. Children in Montessori classrooms also have a free open-ended work period. And so this gives them an opportunity to really learn how to focus and concentrate for extended periods of time, which means that everyone is able to progress at their own speed and are given lots of opportunities to really focus and concentrate. And then finally, the biggest difference that you all noticed and picked up on is the fact that our environments are focused on being really neutral, calm, supportive spaces that really welcome your child in instead of distracting them, allowing them to focus and concentrate for extended periods of time. So now I'm going to just take a step back, and I'm really excited to show you a beautiful film which really showcases our Nido community and our classrooms and our students at work. So again, I just really want to encourage you to feel free to just absorb the photos and the movements and just think about any points that really resonate with you after watching the video. All right.
The Montessori Nido is a calm, cozy, home-like environment for babies. Nido, which means nest in Italian, captures the idea of warmth and security. This was Maria Montessori's term for infant communities, within which little people feel cared for and loved so that they will feel safe to explore and grow. Babies enter the world with no muscle tone and no control of movement. Much of their energy early on goes to building gross motor ability as they learn to hold up their heads, push up off the ground, sit up, stand, walk, and climb. Successful development in this area sets the stage for strength and coordination later in life, which are necessary to enjoy sports, dance, or daily life recreational activities. For babies to fully learn to do all these things, they must be free to move and practice each individual step along the way. This is why the first thing you notice about a Montessori Nido community is the absence of any containers. There are no playpens, no jumpers, no walkers, and no high chairs. Our goal is to create a safe place where babies can move, build muscle tone, explore, fall without hurting themselves, and follow the natural course of human development unimpeded. Maria Montessori famously observed that the hand is the instrument of the intelligence. She understood that your baby uses her hand to fuel the development of her brain. In a few short months, your baby goes from involuntary and reflexive movements to intentionally batting and grasping at objects, then to release something once she has grasped it. From there, she learns more refined grasping abilities, including the all-important pincher grip, later used for holding a pencil. She transfers things from hand to hand and coordinates her two hands for a chosen purpose, such as to bang things together. Our classroom carefully nurtures your baby's developing brain by offering increasingly more complex objects to explore and manipulate in intriguing ways. You'll be amazed at how your child will learn when simply given the opportunity to practice with activities that respond exactly to precise moments in her development. As babies grow, one of the earliest steps towards independence is learning self-care. Montessori guides will gently support your baby to learn to do things for herself, striking just the right balance between making your little one feel safe and loved and identifying the right moment to encourage her to try something new. Self-feeding is one of your baby's earliest steps towards self-care. First, baby learns to hold her own bottle while she is held to feed. Next, as your baby learns to sit reliably, we arrange a tiny table and a sturdy chair, sized just right so that she can crawl in and out of the chair herself. We provide real dishes and utensils just her size. The adult does as much as necessary, but as little as possible at any given stage so that your baby will have room to experiment. It'll be messy at first, but pretty soon your 15-month-old will be confidently using a fork and drinking from a tiny glass. Following your baby's natural schedule encourages him to trust his body and promotes healthy sleeping, eating, and toileting. We start by observing your baby's natural cycle of feeding, sleeping, and biological functions. And when your child is sleeping, We will encourage him to crawl into a separate napping space to rest. When your child is ready to eat, we'll prepare his food according to your instructions and help him to eat, encouraging increasing independence as he grows. We carefully note down all the details for you so that when your baby goes home with you at the end of each day, you can easily pick up right where he left off at school. As your child grows, he naturally begins to fall into a rhythm. We help to gently encourage this as he prepares for the next stage of his development. We know the extreme importance of exposing your baby to rich spoken language and dynamic verbal interaction in order to give his developing brain everything needed to master language. Our interactions with your baby are vibrant and meaningful. We describe what he is doing, what we are doing, and what other children are doing. Our goal is to familiarize him with precise language and help him begin to understand emotions. We expose your baby to as much vocabulary as possible by clearly identifying objects and actions. Additionally, we read beautiful books about real people and real things, and we sing and give your child experiences with the full range of speech and expression.
Great. I'm so excited, Cassandra, to see that you brought your child with you. Hi. Great.
I really like the video.
That's wonderful. I know I saw engaging. That's so wonderful. Well, great. So I wanted to just take a moment to see if there were any points or observations or anything in the video that really resonated with you. I'd love to just hear you all. If you do have any opinions, you can feel free to drop it in the chat, or if you want to mute yourself. But yeah, what are just some of your observations that you all noticed? Sleep mats versus the cribs. Yeah, that's a great observation. We don't want children, especially infants, to feel restricted, or that, and I'm sure you also noticed that there wasn't any a jumper or bouncers containing a child. As much as possible, we want to give children the opportunity to really explore and experience movement with their bodies and develop those core muscles, which is why you don't see cribs or children contained in the classrooms, in our infant classrooms, which is really important. Wonderful. All right. Oops. So let me go ahead and share just a sample schedule, and with a disclaimer that, so this is a sample schedule of a day in the life of a Nido and a toddler child. So momentarily, I'm actually going to showcase a film featuring our toddler community as well, but this schedule generally does apply for both of our children, both of our communities. So in particular, the beauty of the Nido community is our ability to adapt and follow the natural rhythms and cues of your individual child. So we're not forcing all of these babies to be on the same exact schedule. We're adapting so that your child is allowed to sleep and eat and play at their own pace. Whereas for a toddler child, so typically when they begin at the ages of 18 months to 36 months, that's when they really thrive on a group setting, such as, so you'll see more components of like a circle time or eating lunches together. So their work cycle will look slightly different. For our Nido communities, outdoor playtime might be a buggy walk around the neighborhood. So they're all strapped into those little carts, and then the guides will take them around to the neighborhood or to the playground. Whereas for our toddler communities, outdoor playtime will be more so focused on using outdoor play spaces or nearby parks. And so we do know that parents have a variety of different schedules. So we offer both half-day as well as full-day options, and 3-day and 5-day options. So you could do anything between a 3-day half-day program where you get to pick the days, or you could go up to a 5-day half-day program or slowly increase the amount of days that your child is attending as they become a little bit more accustomed to school. So if you do select the half-day option, pickup is at 12:30 p.m. If you select the full-day option, pickup is anytime but after nap time between 3 o'clock p.m. and 5 o'clock p.m. or 6 o'clock p.m. So that's just a general schedule. And now I'm actually going to take a moment to share with you our toddler community. So this is after your child, this is the next step in your child's journey for students between the ages of 18 months all the way up to 3 years old. So again, just go ahead and take in, these are all photos from our actual classroom communities. So even though you're not seeing your particular campus, or you may actually, because these photos are curated from all of our different classroom communities, you'll be able to see the materials that your child will use on a daily basis, and even get to see some of the different activities as well as the guides interacting with the children as well.
Toddlerhood is a time of astonishing growth. In the short span of a year or so, your child experiences an explosion of language, along with a dramatic advancement in fine and gross motor control, problem-solving ability, independence, and social interaction. The Montessori toddler community offers opportunities to practice all these skills. Children are ready for the toddler community when they're alert and active throughout the morning and can walk steadily while holding learning materials in 2 hands. In the Montessori toddler community, your child will have access to increasingly sophisticated Montessori activities, each matched to the appropriate moment in your child's development and designed to strengthen the integration between his mind and his hand. These activities support your toddler in learning to understand cause and effect, solve problems, make choices, and pursue goals. Some activities feed your child's developing mind through hand-eye coordination. Others address his need to move and grow. Your child will engage in gross motor activity both indoors and out, from singing and dancing with his friends, to climbing and riding tricycles on our beautiful playground, to simply experiencing the joy of freedom of movement in his Montessori classroom. Between the ages of 1 and 3, your toddler will go from speaking 2-word phrases all the way to full sentences using correct grammar. Toddlers can experience extreme frustration when their language skills cannot keep up with their desire to express their preferences and choices. To avoid this frustration and associated temper tantrums, hitting, biting, or other negative behaviors, we facilitate early language development, deliberately and methodically exposing your toddler to the specific language that she will need on a daily basis. Systematic vocabulary building includes the use of sets of attractive miniature objects and beautiful pictures to attract your child's interest in learning the names of things. Your child will also be exposed to real, rich, precise, and varied spoken language. We get down to your child's level, look in her eyes, and speak to her clearly so that she can watch the movements made by our mouths as we speak. Your child will enjoy carefully chosen songs and read aloud books with poetry, real stories, and beautiful illustrations. She will experience reduced frustration as she learns to express her ideas and feelings in words. Meanwhile, this thoughtful approach to language will prepare your little one for reading and writing in the children's house. Toddlers love to do real-world adult tasks on their own, so the Montessori toddler community offers your toddler real tools and opportunities. Tables, chairs, toilets, and sinks are just the right size and easily accessible to your child. Materials and utensils are sized to your child's hand and ability, and art and mirrors are hung at your child's height. In this right-sized environment, Montessori practical life exercises teach your child to perform real-world, purposeful tasks. He will become an important contributor to his community and practice tasks over and over to achieve mastery, building confidence and self-esteem. One of the most important ways your toddler learns to be independent is in learning to use the toilet on his own. Montessori guides know how to watch for the signs that your child is ready and how to motivate him to learn without pressure. We give him access to bathrooms which are just his size, and we establish comfortable rhythms and routines that make the toilet familiar and appealing. We take great care to keep the experience positive and relaxed. One of the most exciting things about working with toddlers is watching them begin to interact, play, and socialize with their peers. To learn, children imitate the adults around them, establishing patterns of social behavior that will stay with them throughout their lifetimes. Our Montessori guides help children learn positive social interaction through specific lessons in grace and courtesy. Rather than constantly correcting your child's behavior from a negative perspective, children are instead shown what to do. Courteous interactions are modeled, capitalizing on the toddler's delight in imitation. Lessons in grace and courtesy help your toddler to navigate his world with confidence and consideration for others.
Great. Amy, I noticed that your son was pretty actively engaged in that video. I'd love to hear his thoughts.
Well, he loves pouring water, so that's the first thing that he saw. He's like, oh.
Yeah.
We're still working on him, like washing hands and everything, so he perks up whenever he sees water. He's very excited.
I know. What's his name?
Liam.
Liam. Hi, Liam.
Oh, wave hi. Wave hi.
I know. For some reason, pouring water and washing hands, when I was an assistant head of school at our Wicker Park campus, that was the activity that children loved to do the most. And I think actually what really excited them was the fact that the sinks were at their height. So they had never before experienced a sink at their height before. They'd always have to like climb up onto the stools. So being able to actually take ownership in washing their hands and doing the dishes themselves at everything that was their height, even the small little toilets were at their height, it just really excited them. So it's always so fun to see that enthusiasm.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Well, so now I'm actually going to take a moment oops, let me not play the video again. So to talk a little bit more about our parent communication methods. So as you can see, there's some pretty exciting things that happen every single day in our Montessori classrooms. And we know how important it is for you all to feel connected to your child's classroom, your child's teacher, and to hear about those special moments that take place on a daily basis. So we want to make sure that you also know how often your child is sleeping and diapering and eating at school, especially for those of you who have really young infants. So to bridge the gap between home and school, we use this really fantastic tool called Transparent Classroom. And Transparent Classroom, it supports and provides that additional communication to you all about your child's day and the wonder of a Montessori education. So you'll receive daily photos of the special moments and brief updates about the new activities that your child is participating in and the lessons that they're working on. This is one of my favorite aspects of Guidepost specifically, because I constantly have Transparent Classroom up on my phone as an app, and I'm just refreshing it all day to see when there are photos that have been updated of my daughter. So beyond just the photos, one of the really exciting parts about Transparent Classroom is actually the ongoing progress monitoring. So we do have fall and spring parent-teacher conferences, but we never want that to be the only time you know what your child is learning. And so your child's guide will use Transparent Classroom to carefully plan lessons and monitor your child's progress. So this is actually my daughter's Transparent Classroom account. So you could see that for Mabel, she's been working on her psychosensory development. She's been introduced to a number of different activities. And one of the really exciting things as a parent is I can actually click on any one of these lessons and learn about that particular activity. So when you click on those links, you can learn about the magic of Montessori and learn lesson descriptions, the activities your child is engaging in, the purpose, and how you can support the growth and development at home. So for example, using Transparent Classroom actually helped me figure out self-feeding methods, introducing solids to my daughter, who is absolutely refusing to eat anything that I gave her that wasn't breast milk. And so the Transparent Classroom ideas on self-feeding specifically provided me with a lot of different insight as to how to introduce self-feeding to my daughter at home. So it's a really wonderful tool. And during the Q&A portion, if you're interested in hearing a little bit more about it, I can definitely dive into my own daughter's Transparent Classroom to showcase a few different features. So this is my last video before we jump into our Q&A portion, but we do know that this is a hugely important topic for everyone in determining the best environment for your child. So we want to make sure that you're aware of the different health and safety measures that we've implemented to keep our environment as safe as possible for the entire community. So this is the final video, and then we'll go in and talk a little bit more about just next steps for enrollment and answer any outline questions you have. But this video is actually going to showcase a day in the life of one of our students, and it's going to walk through all of the different health and safety procedures that we've implemented as a result of the pandemic. So I'm going to go ahead and play this final video.
In response to the COVID-19 pandemic, we have heightened our health and safety procedures. These measures help us to promote social distancing and contain and minimize the spread of disease. Upon arrival in the morning, your administrator will greet you at the door, do a temperature check, go over a wellness check, and sanitize all belongings with EPA-approved disinfectant. Then they will escort your child to their classroom, where they will change from outside to inside shoes. In preparation for your child's arrival, your guide will disinfect all high-traffic areas and be ready to welcome them with a smile and escort them to go wash their hands for at least 20 seconds. At least 3 times a day, our guides will wipe down high-traffic areas such as doorknobs, tables, light switches with EPA-approved disinfectants. Children will remain in their group without any mixing of groups at the beginning or end of the day. The best way to minimize exposure among our small groups and preserve our containment efforts is through consistent, responsible use of face coverings. All staff members should wear a face covering at all times. Face coverings should be washed daily, or a new one should be worn each day. In regards to face coverings for children, Guidepost Montessori follows CDC guidance and state regulations. Your child will never wear a face mask during nap time, while eating, or playing outside on the playground. During our playground times, each classroom will come out separately onto the playground for playground use. Between those times, the face mask can be removed while the children are on the playground, and as the children go back into the classroom, a guide will disinfect the playground with EPA-approved disinfectants. During nap time, we ensure that cots are spread at least 6 feet apart where possible. In states where face masks are required, children will not sleep with their face masks on. For end-of-the-day pickup, an administrator or a guide will help your child gather their belongings and escort them to the front of the building. During these uncertain times, we would love to partner with you as parents, provide you with resources and the latest information so that you can make the best decision for your family and your child.
All right. Great. And so, as I mentioned again, we're going to provide you with plenty of time to answer or to ask any questions, if it's specifically about our health and safety measures or if it's about our general programs. But just before we jump into our question and answer session with the rest of our regional admissions specialists who we'll introduce momentarily, I wanted to talk through next steps for when you decide to apply to one of our campuses. So to start off, we can definitely share tuition rates with you for your specific campus. The benefits of our individualized rate sheets is that it gives you full transparency to tuition for all future years that your child remains in our school. So if you do, if you're interested in specific tuition rate sheets, we can send those to you either in a follow-up email or we can send them to you via chat individually as well. We do have all-inclusive pricing. So that means you don't have to pay for anything extra for extended care, for before care. There's no mandatory donations. It's just all-inclusive. And then finally, just one more point about our tuition rate sheets is we do offer a sibling discount of 10%. So if you decide to enroll multiple children, you would receive a 10% discount. So in order to apply to our campus, you would need to the first step is to complete a pre-registration form and pay $100 to add your name to our lists. Then if there is availability, you would receive an invitation to enroll at one of our campuses. After you receive that invitation to enroll, you would complete the enrollment paperwork and submit a deposit, and that deposit is what would essentially lock you into a space in one of our classrooms. You'd get introduced to one of our guides, talk through the next steps for starting, but essentially that's it. It's a really straightforward enrollment process. You can access the pre-registration form on your campus's website just by clicking that Apply Now button, but those are the only steps that you need to take if you're ready to sign up your child. So now I'm going to actually take a moment to give you all an opportunity to connect with some of our regional admissions specialists for a question and answer session. So first off, I'd love to just introduce a few of my wonderful colleagues. I think we have Kai and Jeff and Katherine here. And if you all wouldn't mind just introducing yourselves, saying a few words, and then we'll dive right into our Q&A portion.
Yeah, I don't mind starting. Hi, it's so good to meet all of you. Thank you so much for joining us this afternoon. My name is Kai. I am the regional admissions specialist in the central area. So if you are located in Texas, Colorado, or even Missouri, I am your go-to person. So if you have any specific questions about any of the schools in those areas, please don't hesitate to reach out to me, or you're welcome to privately message me as well, and I'll be happy to answer any specific questions.
Hello, my name is Jeff Frone. I'm obviously a regional admissions specialist here. Thanks everybody for joining us. I work with a lot of schools throughout the Midwest and towards the eastern part of the country. So I'll be available for questions on those schools.
Hi, I'm Katherine, and I'm your regional admissions specialist for the Western region. So I take care of the schools in California, Arizona, and Utah. So please message me if you need any assistance in those schools.
Great, thank you. So now we're passing it all to you. So if you all have any specific questions, you can feel free to drop them in the chat, or you can just unmute yourselves and one of our admission specialists will answer your questions.
Hi, I am in California, so my question would be for Katherine. I have a couple questions about the toddler class. I'm interested in knowing how big the toddler classes are for COVID times. So I understand there's separate classes, you won't let them intermingle, but how many kids will my child be exposed to? And the other question was, there was a deposit. What is that around? Is that the same as the $100 deposit that you were talking about, or is that separate? And also I wanted to get a sense of what the demand from parents is right now. Is it down? Is it up? Or are you kind of back at pre-pandemic levels? I'm just trying to get a sense of timing of urgency in putting my child in daycare right now. Thank you.
Hi, Meta. I see that you are interested in our Palo Alto's location, right? Right, okay. Yes, so the deposit is for, I think Palo Alto is it's gonna be towards our last month tuition. So I can definitely send you the rate sheet that is gonna outline all of that for you. And for the toddler class, the maximum now is 12 children in the classroom. And the last time I spoke to the campus leader, I think the classroom is full. So if you are interested, I would definitely connect with you to sign up for the campus virtual tour so that you can see the classroom in action. You can connect with the campus leader. And then from there, we can forward to the pre-registration form to get you on the list like Denise said.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you.
And then to answer your question, I think, Meta, did you have a final question about the deposit and the waitlist application fee? Oh, sorry, I think you're muted.
Yes, I did. Thank you.
Okay, sorry. Great. So, so the deposit is separate from the waitlist application fee. So the $100 registration fee goes towards adding your name to the waitlist. And then the next time we have an available spot opening, so like Katherine said, it looks like our Palo Alto campus does have a waitlist for their infant program. You would be added to the waitlist. And then when we have an available opening, let's say that's, 3 months from now, we would extend you an offer. And then that's when you would put down the deposit to lock in your spot in that classroom. The deposit is typically, it does vary based on campus, but it's typically around, it's the equivalent of 1 month's tuition. It usually hovers around that. So that would be, because they're in the $100 is just to add your name to the wait list, and then the deposit is to save your spot in our classroom. They're two different fees, but the deposit actually goes towards your final month's tuition. So we are a month-to-month program. So we want to offer you all as much flexibility as possible. So if at any point in time you're moving or you're going to, you decide to withdraw, you would just provide us with a month's notice, and we would apply that deposit to your final month so you don't have to pay for your final month's tuition. Great.
I have a question. How long, or how do we find out what the wait list is approximately?
Balpreet, would you mind just sharing which campus you're interested in? It does vary by program as well as by campus.
So the infant program at Las Flores, so in California?
Yeah, Katherine, that would be you. Oh, did Katherine hop off? I'm not sure if she may have lost connection. I believe, I don't know, Kai or Jeff, do you happen to know the wait list at Las Flores? If not, we can definitely message you separately, Balpreet.
Okay.
I will say, just as a disclaimer, across the board, this is actually answering Meda's question as well. Across the board, our infant classrooms are most popular. Infant and toddler classrooms typically fill up the most quickly. And so, for example, even our classrooms that fill up or that have just opened or haven't even opened yet, the Nido and Toddler classrooms are typically the ones that fill up the fastest. So if you are interested in one of those programs, definitely encourage you to add your name to the waitlist as soon as possible because they do tend to fill up very quickly. Again, it varies based on campus, but we've noticed that's been pretty consistent even during the pandemic, that our Nido and our Toddler programs are pretty much at capacity.
Hi, I have a question also. I'm in Chicago and I'm interested in the new, Dad, can you get the buzzer? It's probably Mom. In the new Edgewater campus. I was wondering if the days of the week are flexible. I would only just be looking for Tuesday through Friday. I know some daycares are like Monday, Wednesday, Friday, or like Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday only.
Yeah, so we actually have, this is Jeff, I work with our Edgewater campus and all Chicago campuses. So we actually have a 3-day schedule and we have a 5-day schedule.
Oh,
if you do a 3-day schedule, you can actually pick the days. We just ask for them to be consecutive week to week.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Oh, you bet.
I always like to point out that you can tell Jeff is from Chicago because of a Chicago accent.
You know, I always hear that. I don't hear it, obviously, but.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Great. And that's another, I think you'll notice that's a pretty common theme is we want to be as flexible as possible for all of our families. And so we do want, if you need to withdraw for any reason, or if you need to just change the days around, we do ask that they're consistent across the board. But I mean, we know that parents have different work schedules. So if a Monday, Wednesday, Friday schedule would work, or Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday schedule would work better than a Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, you have the option to pick that schedule.
Okay, great, thanks.
Yeah, great.
Hi there. I have one question for Jeff. I'm actually in New York City, so I'm interested in the one that it's Guidepost Williamsburg. It's in Brooklyn. I guess I just would like a copy of the rate sheet. I'm interested. And also, at this moment, I don't think my husband and I, we feel that comfortable of enrolling him due to the COVID-19. So as long as there's availability, like, is it like, can we apply sometime when things become more stable, like in January, or like my son right now, actually, he's 22 months, more or less. So we would like the toddler program, as well as the Spanish immersion one that they have at the Williamsburg. What can you tell me a little bit more about that program, Jeff? Is it like, what percentage of Spanish are they, is it 50%? Is it all Spanish throughout the whole day, or how is it broken down?
Yeah, thank you for those questions. I appreciate those. So our Spanish immersion classrooms are fully immersed in Spanish. Mm-hmm. So they are essentially speaking Spanish throughout the time that they're with us. Generally all the way through 3 o'clock, right? Because generally from 3 to 6, it can kind of turn in more to have extended daycare, right? Mm-hmm. So generally you'll hear more English, but some of our guides, if they are with them, they might continue that, right? But the idea behind it is 100% fully immersed. Okay. As far as applying, so January in Toddler, I know that we have some openings now, right? So I could say that we probably will, but it all depends, right? It is very hard to say that in those situations, but so I mean, there's several different steps we can take. I will definitely email you the rate sheets, and then we can also have a dialogue on, maybe you go ahead and complete the waitlist application now to hold a spot, or do we wait a little bit, right? Okay. So I can definitely understand, right, the hesitation, with going now, right? So I think there's a couple different steps that we can take.
Okay, sure. Should I actually text you, like, I'm sorry, in the chat, actually, could I send you my email so you could send me the rate sheet, or how will you like for us to?
No, I actually have all your information, so I can go ahead and send it to you.
Oh, that's right, because I registered.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
It makes sense, actually. I just realized that. Thank you.
Yeah, you bet, Teresa. Thanks for your questions.
Indeed. Thank you.
Any other questions?
Miss Katherine is back if the Las Flores family still wanted an update.
Well, Katherine, would you be able to just speak? Is there any availability in the infant program for Las Flores?
Oh, I'm so excited that the Nido family is interested in the Las Flores. Yes, we do have a spot available in the Las Flores location, yes. Sorry, I had a technical difficulty.
Thanks, Katherine. Well, since we're just getting to the end of time, I just wanted to say thank you so much. We're so happy that you were able to join us and listen and engage. I mean, it is such an exciting time for all of you for looking at, first of all, for your child's development. Just for context, the first plane of development for children between the ages of 0 to 6 is really the most important plane of development, because this is where your child is essentially laying down the foundation for who they're going to be for the rest of their lives. And so for that reason, it's so important to invest early on in your child's education at this stage of life. And I'm personally coming from experience with a 6-month-old in our program, I'm constantly astounded at just everything my daughter has learned in the first 3 months of being enrolled in a Nido environment. And I really can't wait to see just how the Montessori approach is going to shape her into a really independent, creative, critical thinker. So I wanted to just say thank you so much for showing up today. Feel free to follow us on social media if you're not already doing so. And we look forward to having you as part of our Guidepost family. So thanks so much for joining us today. Bye. And thanks so much for bringing your children too.
Thank you.
Bye, Teresa.
Bye.